The poet Dylan Thomas wrote, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." For 2.5 years, Savannah City Clerk Beth Carr raged against the dying of the light. For over 25 rounds of chemotherapy, she did not go gently, battling against her enemy, myxoid sarcoma, a cancer that strikes fewer than 1,000 people each year. Each time, she returned to walking, then running, racing a 10K as recently as September.
Mom told me, she's from a starting phase, that you don't give up. You do everything you can to accomplish your goals. And I saw it time and time again. It was just one more hurdle to accomplish.
Beth, who often raced in superhero outfits, earned a nickname from the doctors, her mom said.
The doctors started calling her like Superwoman, because they couldn't believe it. She was back to running races.
But even superheroes aren't invincible. Even superheroes aren't immortal. Surrounded by friends and family for over a week, Beth died December 18th. Two of those closest friends at her side were running buddies Stacy Bashirs and Darren Throckmorton.
The fun part about being with Beth is we would just run on our trails together, and we could run and talk, and so during the day, we could talk about whatever happened that day. Some days it would be happy, some days it would not be happy. And we gave each other support through not just running, but being friends together.
We kind of got a little motivational thing between each other that whatever comes out bad, you gotta keep going and make something good out of that.
She's had a lot of bad, losing her father in 2020, having multiple surgeries to remove the cancer, narrowly beating COVID this fall, all while caring for her son, Ben, who has autism. Carr's positivity throughout attracted many more companions on her journey.
She has had so many people through Facebook and her running friends that she's been such an inspiration to, and they told her that. And you look at her Facebook page, and there's just so many people pouring out because she didn't give up.
She didn't give up, but in the end, the cancer stopped responding to radiation and chemotherapy treatments, and she was put in hospice care. In keeping with Carr's spirit, her bedside was neither deserted nor despondent. Friends flew in from as far away as California and New Jersey and North Carolina to help her across her final finish line, and her room was filled with laughter, storytelling, and music. Beth's mantra throughout was go, fight, win. But while most of us equate winning with trophies and medals, winning for Beth meant doing your best, keeping moving, making a positive impact. And as she shared in a bedside interview shortly before her death, rejoicing in the triumphs of others.
As much as I enjoy running, nothing inspires me as much as having a friend get out and reaching your personal best.
Beth's personal best 3 years ago was a 3:43 marathon time that qualified her for the Boston Marathon. Here, at the end of 2021, her personal best was turning a 6-month life sentence into a 2.5-year victory lap. The cancer claimed Beth's life, but it couldn't claim victory. Her raging against the dying of the light, her own brightness throughout her time of twilight, saw to that.
Welcome to this celebration of life, to this time of remembering and giving thanks to God for the gift of life and eternal love for each of us. In the stillness of this place, we now turn to God, who is our beginning and our ending. With reverence, we give thanks today to God for the gift of Beth Carr and her life, as with confidence we affirm that neither life nor death can separate us from the love that we have in God. Will you pray with me? Loving God, come to us in this, the hour of our loss. We ask for the presence of your Spirit, that it may comfort us and bring us peace. Be with us now. Give us reassurance of your hope as we meditate on the life of Beth, one of your beloved children. Creative One, we gather here today not only to remember, but to celebrate. For we know now that as Beth's love and hope lives on in the lives of these gathered here, so too she lives now eternally in your embrace, enfolded in your everlasting arms. Comfort us, loving God. Keep us mindful that our own years are but a watch in the night, that in your time we too will be gathered unto you. So be with all those here. Extend your hand to catch their tears. Fill them with the love of your Spirit, and keep us mindful of the truth that the love which we share with one another lives on eternally within you. Amen. I share with you a scripture reading from Hebrews chapter 12. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. Looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the sake of the joy that was set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. Let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. You know, there's an immense amount of discipline and commitment that comes with running a race. One doesn't simply wake up one morning and decide to compete in the Boston Marathon. Such a feat takes intentionality and a willingness to push one's limits and a belief that you can do more than you sometimes think is possible. Maybe this is why perhaps most of us, at least many of us, do all of our running in our childhood. But as we grow up, we leave running behind and we become those who are satisfied with walking. But not Beth. As an adult, Beth rekindled her love of running, of pushing her physical limits, of competing, and of encouraging others to push themselves past their self-imposed limits. Beth knew what it meant to run the race of life with perseverance. Beth began that race on the day that she was born, October 1st, 1970, in Newcastle, Indiana, a gift from God to her beloved parents, Ray and Beth. She excelled in school, in her career, and at being a mother. And Beth excelled at inspiring others. It was shortly after I moved here to St. Joseph, about 8 years ago, that I joined a couch potato to 5K group that Beth organized for a group of us from the church. I can't speak for the rest of the group, but I was definitely one of the couch potatoes in that group. But thanks to Beth, at the age of 49, I ran my first 5K. And even now, whenever I take the time to go for a jog or to run the track at the gym, I think of Beth and the way that she inspired and gently encouraged those of us in that group to push our limits and to take responsibility for our health. What better compliment could be made about an individual? That they inspired and encouraged others around them to live a better life and to be a better version of themselves. In the Christian faith, we are challenged to make the most of the gift of life. The Gospels portray Jesus as striving to show his followers this, to show them what he called the way. I am the way, he says in John's gospel. And I wonder that when we hear those words, we should always pause and ask ourselves, and what way is that? In the Gospels, it's clear. The way that Jesus shows us is the way of peace, the way of compassion, the way of love, the way of commitment to one another. Jesus spent his entire ministry trying to help others see that way and to realize how short a time we each have on this earth to follow it and to follow it to the heart of God's love. I have no doubt in my mind that Beth knew that way. It was a path, a race that Beth ran so well, evidenced by the so many friends and admirers who rallied around her in these past years as she faced her most difficult race, the one against her cancer diagnosis. But here's what's so remarkable. Even in the face of that diagnosis, a diagnosis of a rare form of cancer that offered Beth little hope, she kept on running that race. She kept on hoping. She kept on encouraging others. She kept on loving people. She kept on walking the way. She kept on persevering, living a life not of despair, but of possibility. Not of anger about her situation, but of compassion. She continued to be a woman of deep sensitivity and care for others. She continued to be an amazing mom to Ben. She continued to be a wonderful daughter and sister and friend. And she continued to inspire others to run their own race, to push their own limits, to see that, as the writer of Hebrews suggests, life is about throwing off all that hinders and entangles and keeps us from being all that we were created to be. We grieve today that Beth's earthly, physical life has ended too soon. We have to believe that Beth had more races to run, more laughter and encouragement to share. There were so many more people that Beth might have inspired to get up and run their own race of life. But my faith tradition tells me that the love and the compassion and the hope that we share in this lifetime never truly ends. It is eternal. That's eternity. And it lives on in those of us willing ourselves to join the race on the way to God's love. Beth knew that way. She knew that life is ultimately about drawing close to others in community, seeing ourselves as part of one another, showing others that they matter, that they're loved. And her love lives on now, if we are willing to be those who hope, if we're willing to be those who inspire, if we are willing to be those now who care, if we're willing to be those who nurture, if we are willing to be those who run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us, a race where crossing the finish line matters much less than the journey that we take together with one another along the way. Let us pray. God of all, we thank you for the life we remember here today. We ask that you be with us in the days ahead as sorrow and loneliness may weave their shadows around us. Through the power of your love, restore our hope and give us the strength to carry on with our lives. We pray that your grace and your compassion will be an abiding presence in this time of need, and for this family and these friends gathered here today. And may you grant each of us a holy rest and a peace that lasts in you. Amen.
In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in the need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
On behalf of the Grinke family, I'd just like to say thank you for everybody making the trek out here in the crazy weather that we had today. I know it's not easy to get here, but we just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. And I'm going to read a couple of things. Beth was very close to her dad, and we lost him in March of 2020, so I have a couple of things here to read. I'm going to read a tribute, which was written by his wife, my mother-in-law, and also a poem that Beth wrote for her dad. So this is from Beverly Grinke, my mother-in-law and Ray's wife. In a world filled with too much pretension, image creation, and showiness, it was refreshing to know Ray Grinke. Ray was totally genuine. He was transparent and authentic. What you saw was what he was. In 52 years of marriage, I never once heard Ray lie or deliberately misrepresent the truth. In fact, he went out of his way to avoid pretension. For example, during 30 years in the ministry, Ray refused to ever buy a new car, saying it would look too flashy. He grew up on an Iowa farm and pretty much remained an Iowa farm boy all his life. I must confess, however, this could sometimes cause family disputes. One I would like to interject was when he thought that wearing a tuxedo for my wedding would be too flashy. That did not go over so well. But another thing about Ray was that he loved his wife very much, and he wanted to do whatever she wanted him to do. And she wanted him to wear the tux, so he wore it. One of Ray's qualities that benefited everyone around him, especially his family, is that he was his best during crisis situations. When our children were in college away from home, their cars were always breaking down. No matter how far away from home they were, the first person they called was Dad. Never did they ever consider that he wouldn't come to help, and never did he not immediately jump into his car and head out to wherever they were. In retrospect, I'm thinking that if Ray wasn't always buying old clunker cars, maybe some of this might have been avoided. It was actually with Paul one time when he had to come rescue us with a car breaking down. And it wasn't just with his family that Ray rushed to whoever needed help. He was this way with all of his parishioners. Ray was a true people person who loved to be around others. Consequently, he was always visiting his congregation and was a personal friend to each of them. Even after retiring and living over 20 years in Missouri, he maintained relationships with numerous church members from all of his various Michigan churches. He regularly talked to them on the phone, exchanged cards, and even received longhand written letters from several of the old women catching him up on the local happenings. I can't end this tribute to Ray without mentioning his role as dad. Unfortunately, it's not unusual for ministers to give their lives totally to their congregations and ignore their families. Ray, however, knew how to balance these two. Each one of our children was involved in one or more sports. Beth was in track and cross country, Dan in bowling and coaching basketball, and Paul in playing basketball. So much so that he won a full ride scholarship to college. Sorry, but as a proud mom, I couldn't help but throw that in. Ray never missed one of the kids' games or meets, dragging along his huge black camcorder and recording everything on tape. He didn't show his emotions easily, but often teared up when one of the kids made a tough basket, won a hard race, or achieved a high bowling score. As Ray and I retired, moved to St. Joe, and grew older, Ray never lost his genuine nature, his helpfulness when family members had problems, and his love of family and friends. Thank you, Ray, for the security you gave to all of us. You made our lives richer and easier. You were always there for us and were the rock in our lives. We love you and are eternally grateful. Rest in peace. And now I will read a poem that Beth wrote for her dad. You promised more than I thought I could see. Your faith held true and your fierce loyalty. Love never ends, only begins. You taught me that. As my father, my friend, I treasure forever our memories within. Now you have a new garden to tend. Thank you, Dad, for being a true fisher of men.
So much could be said. I'll focus on two of the words that come to mind immediately when I think of Beth. The first word is gifts. Beth gave me running. Thanks to Beth and Bev, I started running about 7 years ago through the Couch Potato to 5K small group that the two of them led through our church here at First Christian. And running has been a gift for my health and well-being ever since. This also brought me into the running community around St. Joe, people I am grateful to have in my life. Beth gathered people. She connected people near and far. And many of you today I know or know of because of her. Beth brought me into running and continued to support me in that. In our weekly runs, which were my long runs and her easy peasy ones because I'm not in her league, I so enjoyed our conversations about our weeks, about health, about family, and often about food. She also then helped me through the most difficult time in my life. As we ran, she listened. She gave me courage. She shared her own experiences with honesty, wisdom, and very practical steps, and helped me keep some humor in the ridiculous that came with the difficult. Beth also gifted tangibly, clothing, run gear, and many other things with great generosity and just a wonderful thoughtfulness. Many know Beth's gifts of her care for others, her positivity, her incredible determination, her strength and courage, her encouragement, and her creative gifts of poems and photos. These gifts are here. They continue in our lives and in our world. The second word is family. Family is so important in the Carr Hoffman-Grinke clan. We see that in the huge love and care for Ben in the family, and in the truly amazing mom that Beth was. And I think to know and to love Beth is also to love Bev and Ray. On our runs, and then walks, and then Zooms, Beth and I often talked about the huge gift of our parents, both growing up and in our adult lives. Ray and Bev supported so many others too, at the finish lines and along the routes of races and of life. Many have been blessed through their family. One more comment on gifts. Beth gave me these socks quite some time ago. On the top, they say, live in gratitude. And on the bottom, they say, cultivate joy. Beth did both of these with clear integrity, and they are gifts that her radiance and her spirit continue to give us.
Hi, my name is Anne Marie Chappell, and I'd like to share with you my tribute to my friend Beth Carr. Over the past few weeks, I've been reflecting on my friendship with Beth and on Beth as the extraordinary human that she was. How can I possibly condense so much goodness into just a few short words? Really seems impossible. The harder I thought about it, the more I realized that it's a hard task to do. But once I went running, I was able to get back to the essence of who Beth was to me. And it's been really cold lately, but I can say I wasn't cold when I was running. I felt like I had this glow of remembrance of Beth inside of me. And I'm sure that to outside people, I probably just looked like one person bobbing along the horizon, but I can tell you there were two of us running together. Beth's been with me through all my runs recently, and I could see her shining smile. We all know, I love this picture that Beverly chose because that's Beth's smile that I'll never forget. And I could hear Beth's voice, and we all know just the uniqueness of her voice. The first time I met her, and she said, "Hi, my name's Beth Carr," I thought, wow, that's such a unique voice. And I've gone back a lot of times and relived that day that I met Beth. And the memory is so vivid because of the immediate and the deep impression that she made on me. Actually, Beth made an impression on me before I ever met her in person. Just being fellow local runners, we had gotten each other's numbers and were texting back and forth. And finally one day came the text from Beth, and she said, and this is what made the impression on me. She said, "I'm on vacation next week, and I'm trying to figure out how many times I can go running and how many different people I can run with." And if you know Beth, I mean, that's Beth to a T. She wanted to run as much as possible and do it with her friends. And so if you know me, you know I like running a lot too. And I thought, wow, I really like this person, Beth, already. Like, she's pretty awesome. So I'll never forget that run too, because I showed up to Bartlett Park to meet her. She got out, I saw that smile, I heard that voice, and it had started to be kind of a misty drizzle that was coming down. And I had my little daughter, she was about 10 or 11 months old at the time, and I was going to push her in the stroller, and I thought, oh, what's this lady going to think of me, like pushing my baby in the rain? And Beth said, oh, let's get some towels and we'll just, bundle her up. And we shut the lid on the baby jogger and bundled her up. She slept the whole time, and I thought, okay, this is a friend I can really get to know, because that's exactly what I would be doing if it was just me myself. So I'll never forget that day and that run. And that day grew into an instant bond and a deep friendship. And over the years, we shared lots of walks and hikes, we shared runs, we shared picnics, we went on race trips together, we were roommates at the Lincoln Marathon one year. And another thing that Beth really invested herself and her love in was my own two daughters. She loved my girls, and my girls loved her, and we did a lot of crafts together. And so I'll never forget those times doing crafts with Beth and with my girls. And somewhere along the way of our friendship, Beth asked me to be her coach. I'm a running coach. And in running, there are the themes of victory, of finish lines, and of reaching your personal best. And I helped her complete workouts that give her endurance and speed, and to help her beat the clock in her quest to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And actually today, when I was trying to figure out what to wear, I decided not to wear my Batgirl costume, as Beth might have done. I'm wearing my Boston Marathon blue sweater today in honor of Beth. And all of this time, interwoven with our relationship as coach and athlete, there was this strong undercurrent of our friendship. As I gave her workouts to help her earn her Boston qualifier time, she was actually teaching me that real victory isn't just getting to the finish line with the very fastest time. Victory is the joy found when we can relish every single moment along the way. I clearly remember one time someone asked Beth, "Don't you get tired of running the same route every day?" Anyone that knows Beth here in town knows the route that she would run every day without fail. And she just looked at them and said, no, because maybe it's the same route, but it's different to me every time I do it. And that just really showed that she had such joy in the moment for what she was doing. And I laugh and I remember every time when I run that route myself, because I think about a time a few years ago as I was running on that stretch and I kept seeing like a jelly bean, and then I'd run a little ways, and then there's like another jelly bean, and then I run a little, there's another one, and I'm thinking some poor kids like lost all their candy. And pretty soon I see a runner that I'm running up to the back of, and I get closer and I'm like, that's Beth. So I said hi to her, and she was like, oh my gosh, my fanny pack opened, all my jelly beans spilled out. And then this is like so classically Beth. She was like, good thing I also put cookies in here. She always had cookies in her fanny pack, and you never knew what, there could be a Band-Aids and chaps. She had everything in that. So you always knew if you were with Beth that she was gonna take care of you. Her sense of humor was one of a kind, and it's definitely something I'll never forget. And though Beth had a wonderful sense of humor, she was also fiercely competitive. She and I regularly discussed her desire to earn personal records in all of her various racing distances. Though her running personal best was important to Beth, she also lived in the way that showed me that reaching your own human personal best lies in seeing and celebrating everyday miracles. It lies in having gratitude for the gifts present in our lives right now. I remember once when Beth was having pain in her lower leg, in her calf muscle, and she said, it's okay if one leg hurts, I still have the other one. And I'm thinking, wow, most people would say, oh, I'm injured, I can't run. She's thinking, well, I still have all these other body parts that work. And so that was something that's, inspirational to me back then and also now too. Beth knew that in life, challenges are expected and that ultimately we're the creators of our own experiences and our victories. Thinking back through all of these memories of our coach and athlete relationship and our friendship, it's really only now that I see that throughout all those years, I thought I was the coach, but really it was Beth that was coaching me. If there's one thing that Beth showed me that'll stay with me forever, it's this. We are victorious when we can run courageously and straight into the face of challenges with a smile, sharing the gifts of hope, gratitude, and presence with those we love. When we have the power to observe, experience, and share everyday miracles, we have magic all around us every day. It's in continuing this way of life that we can each share in and celebrate Beth's victory and to continue to spread the ripples of her goodness. Thank you, Beverly, for sharing Beth with each of us. I know that I will never, ever forget her.
I first met Beth through her mom because Bev was my friend. Beth was my friend's daughter. She got invited to our holiday open houses. That girl loved cookies. She also said if she ever got snowed in, she wanted to be at my house because of my books. I also think the cookies influenced the decision. From now on, whenever I make Reese's or Snickers peanut butter cookies, I'll think of Beth. Over the years, she became my breakfast buddy. After her back surgery, she needed a place to recuperate, and since she always said she wanted to be snowed in at my house, why not become my roommate? I'd never had one before, and she was great company. Another thing I loved about Beth, she was a dog person. She loved my dogs, and they loved her. And I had a built-in dog sitter. She even came back to dog sit a few times after she moved back home. She ended up staying in the living room because it was easier for her. Even with everything she was going through, she continued working from her space, and sometimes she went to the office. In spite of how she might have felt, she smiled through it all. I mentioned to Bev how Beth greeted each morning with a smile. Bev said, even as a little girl, she woke up smiling. Bev and Beth, that is so confusing. Even through pain in the hospital and hospice, she smiled. So many comments on Facebook about her smile. What a gift she shared with those of us lucky enough to be on the receiving end of that smile. She may have been small in stature, but she made a big impact. She touched so many lives. The splash of her life created ripples that connected so many people. I have new friends because of my friend, Beth.
I met Beth about 13 years ago when I went in to pay a water bill. She gave me that smile, and I just went on about my day, and it was probably about a week or two later, I go to the Husky 5K run. Who should I see? Was her wearing her mom's lucky green shorts. And we had a little story about that because she wore those in every race, and she always wanted to wear them because of her mom, because they were good luck. And we become really good friends after that, and we trained and trained and trained morning and night, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, and maybe 3 times a day. And we also had a competition how many miles we could run in one day. Well, we got 30 miles in one day when we was training for a marathon. And it was in May, we both ran the Parkway 15K. And running with her, with being competitive, I knew she was gonna beat my butt. And we kind of started doing the fist bump. You know, every race, giving each other the strength that you needed. And I told her, I said, you know, I don't want to race this as competition. I want to be your friend. And I'm one of those runners that I like to play cat and mouse with, and I let her get maybe 1.5 miles in front of her, just where I could see her. And I caught up with her. And if you've seen the picture up here with the finish line where she grabbed my arm or my hand and we crossed, I will never forget that. And not knowing what she was going to do, she wrote this poem for me. It's a second by second, stride by stride, neck and neck, unexpected but familiar end. Miles in memory shared, images past and present blurred. All that brought us here, finish line in sight, pace is quickened. Arms and leg reach for more, and yet even more, finish is near. Yet so far away, seconds tick by in slow motion. 10, 9, 8. Driving, straining, almost. There, smiles echo, hands clench. Intoxicating mix of awe and joy. Contested wills between friends. We're both win. She will always be my winner, and she will always be my cheerleader.
This is a tribute to Beth from Deborah Smith. She lives in Colorado and was out to visit Beth when she was in hospice, so she couldn't make it back for this. A tribute to Beth. Like so many people here and watching online, I met Beth through our mutual love of running, or should I say her love of running and my love-hate with it. Beth had me at hello. Our schedules almost always matched up, and we quickly became running partners, friends, and over the years, best friends. Her indomitable spirit magnetized me to her. The hardships that she went through even before her diagnosis never got her down for long. She was always at the ready with her beautiful smile, quick wit, and encouraging words. There was a depth to Beth that I can't really explain, but she was definitely an old soul, one that I'm very grateful to know. Some days we ran in silence, some days we joked and laughed. She always knew what to say and when to say it. After I moved to Colorado and we didn't physically see each other every day, she still knew. Little meaningful gifts would arrive in the mail that were perfect for whatever moment I was in life. One day in particular, I was really struggling. A little magnet arrived in the mail with the perfect message. Now I'm sending that message back to her. You are one amazing lady. You are so good to the people in your life. When you give, it's easy to see that it comes straight from the heart, and it gives everyone around you the gift of a nicer world to live in. I hope you'll never forget how much I treasure just being in this world with you. You are such a deserving person, and I really hope that all your days are as beautiful and as bright as the ones you inspire in other people's lives. I love you, Beth. This is from Kama. This is also a friend of Beth's. She's from Idaho. I would like to thank Beverly for giving me the opportunity and honor to share today. I am sorry that I cannot be there in person. I am grateful that Jessica can share my words. I only wish I had the beautiful gift that Beth had when it came to writing. Her words were so lovely, and the poem about her dad was my favorite. In the program for today's service, it says, Beth's concern for others, their problems and goals, and her encouragement to them made her a special loved friend. It also says, Beth's unselfish love to her family and others will be forever remembered and live on. These statements are so true about our sweet Beth, and I would like to share one story that demonstrates that incredible love. For 29 years, I have operated a child care center and taught preschool. Beth is the only friend I have ever had that showed an interest in my job. We had many discussions about popular children's books. Beth always wanted to know what we were learning and what our themes were. She enjoyed seeing pictures of our craft projects. On one of her visits to Idaho, she did an arts and crafts with my granddaughters and read them stories. It was such a treat. It wasn't unusual for packages to arrive from Beth for my preschoolers. She enjoyed finding fun things for them. She was such a giving person and a kid at heart. In 2020, Beth took a special interest in one of my 3-year-old preschoolers named Jaylyn. Jaylyn's parents and I were noticing changes in her health. I was frequently online trying to figure out what was going on. Beth, being such a great researcher, was also trying to find a diagnosis. I had told Beth how Jaylyn went from a normal 3-year-old girl to no longer being able to run. Over time, she became gradually worse. She could no longer ride a scooter, a tricycle, or participate in any physical activities. It was very difficult for her to sit on the floor for story time and even harder to get back up. Even her little voice became weak. Beth was very concerned about this little girl that she did not know. One day, we received a special package from Beth. It was a pop-up tent that looked like an ice cream shop, along with a large assortment of fun ice cream shop accessories. Beth had the great idea that Jaylyn could have an ice cream shop outside. While the kids were playing, they could visit her shop. Doesn't that sound like something Beth would come up with? It was perfect. Of all the kids loved it, and they were happy to let Jaylyn run the shop. After many tests and appointments, Jaylyn was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease. She began treatments right away and started gaining her strength back. This made Beth so happy. Last month, I was able to spend 3 days and nights at Beth's bedside along with Lisa. We cherished every moment. I was able to tell Beth many times that I loved her, and I thanked her for being such a good friend. I was trying to be strong, and therefore I didn't completely open up to Beth about how I felt. When I got back to Idaho, I had regrets for not saying more. I decided to take a chance and call Beverly. It just so happened that Beverly was at Beth's bedside. She put me on speakerphone, and I was so grateful for that last opportunity to speak to Beth. She spoke very little, but I knew she was listening. One thing I told her, and I am so glad I did, is that Jaylyn is doing very good. I told Beth that she is now 5 and can run just as fast as the other kids. I know Beth had a big smile when I told her Jaylyn could run again. I told her that she still enjoys her special ice cream shop too. It gives me comfort in knowing that our amazing, sweet Beth can also run again. Surely she is enjoying her ice cream too. I would like to include with a quote from Beth that she shared on her Memories by the Miles page. Thank you for making me laugh, being there when I cry, sharing miles and smiles. I love you. We love you, Beth.
Beth and I met at a race, but neither one of us could remember a specific race being the first time we met. We ran in Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa, but the majority of our races were in St. Joseph, always in our tutus, always smiling across the finish line. Our motto became, we may not finish first, but we will always finish fabulous. By the time I grew tired of running, Beth and I had already bonded over other things we had in common. When her first round of surgeries and treatment forced Beth into bed, I would come over with my craft box and we would make jewelry. Beth often thanked me for reintroducing her to crocheting, a hobby that had slipped to the back of her mind once she slipped back into her running shoes. It was not easy for Beth to remain idle, and I don't think she especially enjoyed it, but luckily for her, I'm very good at doing nothing. We would hit the salons indulge in a long lunch, and take our time cruising the scenic back roads on our way home. Once Beth became more mobile, she would load up the walker and peruse every thrift store within driving distance. Sometimes the side effects of her treatments would get the best of her, and we would have to sit out a dizzy spell on the secondhand furniture. She was very discreet and practiced with emesis bags. Beth was truly a model of grace and elegance, even under the most difficult circumstances. And I never once heard her complain. To quote one of Beth's poems she posted in April, "My eyes glint, reflecting how you spun gold out of frowns." Beth is with me every day. I was traveling when I received the news and therefore had to make some phone calls from the airport. It was during one of these calls, tucked away into an alcove, that something small and sparkly caught my eye. It was a little craft jewel, perhaps misplaced from a princess tiara or a fancy barrette. Such a dainty item, it probably would have been sucked into the janitor's vacuum had I not felt compelled to pick it up and place it in my backpack for safekeeping. Upon returning home, I was looking through Beth's posts for comfort and inspiration, and I came across one of her poems from February that includes the lines, "I wonder, is fate a blessing or cruel? Spending so many hours away, yet each moment shared, a jewel." I love you, Beth. Thank you for all you gave us during your brief time here. I love you, Mama Bev. Thank you for being what's right with the world. I would like to close with another one of Beth's poems, this one she posted in August. Walls ebb and tide as gently we sleep, whisper the seagulls whenever we weep. Loss has not left us, grief is too deep. We miss you, O brother, even in heaven's deep keep.
Me again. Okay, this is from Lisa from New Jersey, who also was here with Beth in December and couldn't make it back today. I entered Beth's life relatively late in the scene, first by admiring her Facebook posts in a mutual run group in 2019 as she was doing walks with Ben with walking sticks, still recuperating from her first spine surgery. I thought, what an amazing woman. Even not knowing her full story and certainly never thinking I might become such a close friend as to call her my little sister. Flash forward to April-May 2020 when the world of Facebook Messenger brought us together over the concerns for a mutual online running group member she'd considered visiting in June. When those plans quickly changed, I'm not sure who suggested coming here to the Jersey Shore first, but an instant mutual decision for sure. Of large comfort to Beth was not only our friendship getting stronger every day, but also my experience working in hospitals over 20 years. My abruptness to ask without pause about her meds, mental health, pain management, physical limitations. No, not a nurse, but a social worker, case manager, familiar with physical rehabilitation and some oncology, but above all, a comfort level with medical issues. COVID vaccinated and tested before her visits, CPR trained, familiarity with area hospitals, docs, nurses. I'd often ask for advice on this or that for Beth and just in case. Having that knowledge base and experience gave Beth, and I believe Bev and Andy, a certain comfort level. Beth would say I was the only one who would ask her the hard questions, something she deeply appreciated and perhaps why she'd open up more about various medical aspects and pain, which I always knew was worse than most did. She visited at least 4 times. I forget because her visits were routine and fun, whether I had to work a day here or there or not. She called it her home away from home. I'm a quiet person, mellow lifestyle, adding tri-sports to my running, which she admired. I appreciating the peace in my house. I had Beth riding my beach cruiser, I believe her only time on a real bike since before her first back surgery. She'd joined my ocean swim crew to watch the sunrise from the beach as we swam. The plan was for her to swim too when her external chemo port removed, which sadly never happened in the time frame of her visits here. Beach boardwalk runs and walks, naps on the living room couch under the comfort of my snuggly little Cody dog as the 3 cats endlessly amused. My friends became her friends, including my local women's run group, She Runs. Beth's Facebook posts there inspired a whole other group, Her visits became cause to assure a group run or boot camp, often with a box of Joe Dunkin' coffee brought to share. We did our October virtual pumpkin run in October 2020, which was a blast and right up her alley for fun runs. Beth specifically booked her May 2021 visit around a She Runs virtual half marathon I was slated to volunteer for, but she wished to run. As the trip approached, setbacks had impeded her distance running to a max of 4 miles. Being the overprotective sister, I suggested she run to my 3-mile table and just relax, as it was also a very warm day. We all know Beth. She ended up at over 9 miles. I thought that was the moment a New Jersey ER was destined, but as she always did, she proved me wrong after some recovery minutes and snacks. She was so happy with herself, and so was I once the overprotective mode of concern slipped out of me, which took a few. She posted a long note of appreciation to the She Runs group, ending with a triple thank you to Big Sis Lisa Ann Epstein. Without you, I would have never been a part of this group. I treasure my visits to see you and go on our adventures. Thank you. And thank you, Beth, for always believing in me when I didn't have faith in myself, for proving me wrong, for showing me the glass is half full, for being my run coach, motivating me to run stronger than ever before, be better inside and out. Our friendship may have been cut short, but you've forever changed my life. And as I told Kama, even near your end, you gave us your close friends, the most beautiful gift of all. More close friends and running family. Love you forever, little sis.
So, I met Beth through Ben, her son. I was Ben's speech therapist, and Beth and I became close friends through the miles and miles of running together. We both greatly enjoyed our shared sport of running and talking. Beth was the most driven and passionate person that I have ever met. She was able to overcome the challenges of having a child who has special needs. Beth had a strong hope and desire that one day she would be able to communicate with her son. Not only was she able to care for Ben, but they developed a special bond, and together they communicated in their own fun and whimsical way. I will greatly miss seeing Beth and Ben walking and talking on the trails. Beth chose to see the positive side in everyone and everything she did. Even when she was in pain from her cancer, she was encouraging others. Beth is the strongest person I know because she never gave up. Through her determination, perseverance, and a strong will, Beth qualified for the Boston Marathon. Unbeknownst to Beth, at that time of the Boston Marathon, she had stage 4 cancer. Her strong hope gave her the strength to persevere through the tough times, and she never gave up when running. She never gave up with her fight for cancer. She never gave up in making Ben's life the best it could be, and she never gave up in anything that she ever did. She met her goals in life, and she so far exceeded her goals in every way and everything she ever did. Beth had many goals in life, but truly her main goal was to love her son and to love her family. She touched so many people's lives. Through her encouragement and unconditional acceptance and love for all, she made the world a better place. We will all miss Beth and her endless hope. I am so very thankful for Beth's friendship. I will always carry in my heart her strong spirit of strength, hope, passion, perseverance, and unconditional love for all. I will miss my dearest, sweetest, most beautiful friend.
I will now ask you to join me in the impossible. This is a prayer of thanksgiving for Beth. Mighty God, grief makes it hard to breathe. Never mind give thanks. We are wounded and diminished. Yet we would give thanks. We want to give you thanks for Beth, your child, to whom you gave such an extravagant amount of your own spirit, your amazing creation, who carried so much of your own strength and who smiled with so much of your own love. Because Beth received so much of your spirit, strength, and love, you devastated us by calling her back to you so early. Because she carried so much of your spark among us, we want to honor her and honor you by giving thanks. We thank you for this unique champion, for her stamina, her grace, her optimism, and her smile that expressed it all. We thank you for the web of love Beth helped you spin, the intricate connections that make up her family, the circle of friends she was building even from her hospice bed, her incredible friendship with her mom Beverly, her tender care for her son Ben, her beautiful tribe of runners, those who got to see her work ethic by being colleagues, and all the ripples in our world Beth remains at the center of. We ask that as we would sob our thanks, you will lift us up. Make us worthy of being Beth's circle. Guide us to carry on the spark you gave Beth, so that we can support one another in missing and celebrating one who has returned to you. Amen.
Following my meditation, everyone is invited downstairs to visit with the family, view the displays of Beth and of her father Ray, and to enjoy cookies and drinks. My meditation will serve as a closing prayer and end the service. Please bow your heads. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of the children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Amen.